Thank you. I'm thrilled to welcome to the stage to say a few words the president of Makelat Mercaz, Mindy Schaper.
Well, I first have to thank Josh for getting the pronunciation right. It's either Schaper or Schaper, but Schaper is the correct one. So Anna asked me to speak, and I'm paraphrasing how she asked me, but it was something like, why don't you talk about what this experience was like for someone like you? So what does someone like you mean? In a kind way, Anna was saying, someone who knows nothing about music. But she said it, someone who is doing her first choral experience. So let me describe to you exactly how first choral experience it was. When I joined the first practice 3 years ago, I walked into the room, late of course, and everyone was sitting down, and Chazan Sheldon asked me, what part do you sing? And I said, what parts are there? And he said, soprano, alto, tenor, and bass. And I said, oh, soprano, that sounds familiar, I think I'm a soprano. And then he said, soprano 1 or soprano 2. And I said, what's the difference? And he was very kind, and he said, do you sing high or very high? And I said, I think I sing very high. So that's how I became a soprano 1. And it's very lucky that I became a soprano, because sopranos usually have the melody, which makes it the easiest part, which is very good for someone who doesn't know how to read sheet music. So I thought that, after 3 years in the choir, which this is my 3rd year, I would have learned, how to read sheet music. I thought that, just like when Anna and Josh say, oh, now the F sharp and the C sharp and the B, I would be able to ring it out. But let me tell you what I've learned after 3 years. I have learned that when the dot is higher, you sing higher, and when the dot is lower, you sing lower. So it's very lucky that I can basically memorize and listen to the YouTube versions again and again and again, and rely on that, and sit next to people who know the music better than me. But when I think about what it means to be in a choir, and why we come back, even if I'm not very good. So this is a thought that I had the first week. When I was younger, I used to want to be good at everything I did. Whatever I did, it felt very bad to be bad at something. All of us want to be good at what we do and feel proficient and feel like we excel. But at that first practice, when I realized that I was really out of my depth, I thought to myself, I have 2 options. I can go home and try to study really hard and listen to stuff and play with my piano that I have at home. But realistically, I don't have time for that. I work full time, I have a husband and 2 kids, and I have other hobbies, and I knew that wasn't going to happen. So some people, and maybe my younger version, would have said, I guess the choir is not for me. I'm not gonna be really good, and I'm gonna make mistakes, and I'm gonna sound stupid. And it's not worth it. But the thing that I decided that night was that I don't care if I make mistakes and I look foolish sometimes, and I don't care if it's embarrassing that I sing the wrong thing, because it's not about being perfect, it's about showing up, and sometimes doing your best is better than doing nothing at all. And that's the first lesson. The first lesson of the choir, about not being perfect, which I'm sure Josh and Anna are so happy to hear me promoting being less than perfect. And the second part is what I do think is perfect about the choir. And I think that, if we look at a more spiritual level, we have, Kabbalah says that just like the world below, so is the world above. And human beings, this is getting a little more holistic. Human beings, Judaism teaches, have a Yetzer Hara, an inclination to do evil, and a Yetzer Hatov, an inclination to do good. And all of us can choose at any moment to do good or to do bad. And I think that, especially for the past year and a half, we've seen what happens when humans go with their Yetzer Hara, and we've seen the depravity that can happen when humans turn a blind eye to other people's humanity. And I think that it is not an accident that a choir is made one person, they sing and it sounds beautiful. But when you have a choir made up of so many different people, and you have up to 8 parts and 25 people singing together and choosing to combine their parts and not to go on their own separate path, and not to be selfish, and not to think about only themselves, but to go together and work with a common goal and work for something to make something beautiful, I don't think it's an accident that you create something that is bigger than the sum of your parts. And everyone here is creating something beautiful and creating something that I think touches us because it expresses humans doing their Yetzer HaTov, humans being the best that we can be, and humans merging together to create beauty in the world rather than evil and destruction. We're coming together in love and unity. I know there are a lot of people here. Some people might not appreciate choral music, but they come because they love someone in the audience. And that is the greatest exhibition of what it means to join together and go with our collective good. And thank you so much for coming and demonstrating that.